Okay, we're recording now. Best behavior while you're chugging on a Pepsi. Okay. Well, there goes our sponsorships.
An unnamed brand that starts with the letter P and ends with that letter I.
Yeah. Mr. Pibb. Wait, that's also copyrighted.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
That's also copyrighted.
Let's just name off a bunch of branded content. Adobe, Pepsi, Dell,
Coca-Cola,
HP, Apple,
McDonald's.
I was trying to find different branded things in the room.
Whopper, Big Mac,
Furman, that
Dell,
Whopper.
Also, for those of you guys
have it your way.
All right, we have Harley back again. We have him back again. We're also back on campus. So
are you really starting the episode with the BK?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They should know that it's we get like some hockey news and we get some degeneracy because we literally have.
Yeah, why not?
We gotta replace. Talk about. We've been gone for 2 weeks for a reason because there's literally been nothing.
This is just like it's an unfortunate part because it's just such a big lull in the season.
There's a problem with this paper here.
Covering that.
You see the thing that's wrong?
For our audio listeners, well, really all of you now.
It's a piece of paper.
It's a piece of paper with the wrong name on it.
There's also no.
Yeah, contact Jade Selevsky if you want to join DSR.
Stop name dropping on the show.
Not Harley. Do not email the current radio president.
Nah, you don't.
No, it's not. It's not Harley.
I'm going to send her an email asking if I can join radio.
Oh my gosh. All right, so what do you want to start with, Nick? Because there have been not many things to happen. Do you want to start with the thing or?
Nah, I think we should build up to it.
All right.
What thing?
We will save Eric Karlsson for last because it has to do with the city that we are currently in.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Do you want to talk about the Lightning?
Yes, let's start with that because when you told me this, literally 30 minutes before the show, my jaw almost hit the floor. I felt sick to my stomach hearing this.
Yeah, I mean...
Horrid. Putrid.
It is just... So, Brendan Hagel gets a new deal with the Tampa Bay Lightning. How old is he now?
You said 28 at the...
He's 24.
Oh, so he's actually pretty young.
Yeah. So, he's 24. He's 24 years old. He gets an 8-year, $6.5 million average annual value contract, and a no-move clause kicks in the 2026-2027 season.
So there is a way to get out of it, though.
Yes. There is a way to get out of it, but you have to do it rather quickly if the team is not looking good. And Brendan Hagel's not a bad player by any sense of the mean. I'm not trying to say he's a bad player. He had a 64-point season last year in 81 games, so he had 64 points, 30 goals in that season. So it's not a terrible deal. I'm more focused on the term rather than the cap hit.
I could definitely see that being a problem.
Because, it ends when he's 32. It ends when he's 32, but he's had really one full season of NHL experience. You hope he gets better. I just really don't know a whole lot to say about it. I think it's one of those contracts that is very steep with the Lightning, and the Lightning have signed a couple of contracts that are really steep this offseason. Mm-hmm. Almost unheard of for the Lightning, because the reason why they were so successful was because they signed a bunch of deals that were team-friendly. So you have this Brendan Hagel contract that got signed.
The Steve Cirelli contract.
Oh, the Anthony Cirelli. The Cirelli one's not terrible.
No, I think that one's going to be really bad by the end of it.
You do?
I really do. I think because the best way I can describe Hagel's game, of the three big contracts they released, I guess you can count four. Are we counting Nick Paul?
Yeah, we can count it.
Because of the term.
Yeah.
Of the big contracts that were signed, there was Hagel, Jeannot, Cirelli, and Nick Paul.
Yeah.
The only one that looks like it's going to age well through it, at least I think, will be Hagel.
I think Hagel's has the potential to age well.
Even if it's just the last year or two, if it's bad,
Yeah.
that's still 7 years of a good deal.
Yeah.
Or 6 years of a good deal. Like, versus, I think Nick Paul is going to be terrible halfway through. Like, by year 3, he's not going to be great.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Brendan Hagel contract has the potential to be good or bad, but especially with Brendan Hagel's player type, like he's had one full NHL season so far.
The only good
So
thing
it's
is they
kind of
haven't
early.
signed the stupid juice of giving a giant extension for Tanner Jeannot yet. Because he
So-
only has two
Yeah.
years left. So
2 years at 2.665, which is a new deal that he signed in July of this year. I
Which
think
is
we talked
fine.
about it.
which is fine.
It's
for right
okay, but Tanner Jeannot, with his tenure with the Lightning, in
Not
20
good.
games he had 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points. It was a -6.
now. And he's the kind of guy who's supposed to be like a really
Yeah.
solid defensive player.
I mean, he had a good year in Nashville in 2021-22 with a 24-goal, 41-point effort, but it's just a lot of these contracts are too early to tell.
Yeah.
My alarm with the Hagel one is the term. My alarm with the Jeannot one is just how much money they're paying him. I just don't think it's that great of a
Yeah.
contract yet. It has potential to be, but it's not.
And the worst part
that
about
good.
it is, you saw in Cap Friendly, look who's up after this season.
I know.
A certain potential Hall of Famer in Steven Stamkos.
Wow, it's
He's
hard
on
to
his
believe
last
he's
year.
up. It's hard to believe he's up.
And they don't have the
already.
money to re-sign him. You
Yeah,
look at all
he's
the players they
33.
have. They don't have the guys to They don't have the cap to really re-sign him.
Yeah, which I mean, the cup tax gets everyone. Like,
Yeah.
especially with Pittsburgh a couple of years ago. Like,
They
it's
also
really
have-
tough to maintain players.
Yeah, they also signed big players to other. We just talked about the offense. I mean, look at the defensive side.
Yeah,
I mean, well, we also forgot about Kucherov having an extension in point, but those are deserved. And
both
then,
Point and
Mikhail
Kucherov are
Sergachev-
making 9.5.
Yeah, Mikhail Sergachev got a huge extension. That's deserved. But then you look at the next one that's on the defense. A certain Eric Cernak signed for 8 years.
Yeah, that
What?
one. That one, I'm not so sure about.
That's disgustingly dumb.
I'm not so sure about the Chernak one. Like, Chernak's not a bad player, but their
Not that much
D-core
money.
has some steep contracts. Like, Sergachev making more than Victor Hedman is kind of alarming.
Mhm.
He has the top-end skill, but I'm just kind of alarmed at how much money the Lightning are throwing out, especially with some of the guys that, like, they could have gotten way below that value for them, but they just, I guess they're trying to panic and keep people in-house to
And right
prevent a
now-
rebuild.
And because of that Hagel contract, they're now back over the cap. Not by much, but they're back over the cap again.
Yeah, they're over the cap,
It's not by
including
much.
LTIR candidates, 73K.
That's not much money to have to navigate around, but like
Yeah.
it's gonna be steep when you go to like the next few years of how to manage. Now they're not Leaf bad because you guys are still 3 million over. You're the only team who's like when you look at all the LTIR stuff is over the cap right
Yeah,
now.
we're $3 million. I hate saying this, but
Oof.
I think we could possibly see a William Nylander trade quite soon.
There is definitely a possibility for that.
Because if you can get Nylander's $6 million off the books and get like one solid defenseman and a couple of picks, like that puts them right under. I think the Leafs, like, they have too much of a good thing right now. Like, especially with their forward depth, like they got too much star power. Like, you need to get some sandpaper in there because there comes a point where, like, if you have too many offensive forwards, like, there's only so much ice time you can have and there's so much possession time you can have. So if you don't have ice time or possession, like, you're going to have guys who are top-end skills that are just not going to put the points up because they simply can't.
No.
The other deal that was, like, really surprising was Tom Wilson's.
Oh yeah.
Tom Wilson got
Paid.
a bag, Was it a smart decision to make?
So, for anybody wondering, he got an 8-year deal.
It was a
Or 7-year
7-year deal with a cap hit of $6.5 million. $6.5 million.
Why do you hurt me so, Washington?
I don't even know where to start with this.
Awful.
Like, we know the trend. This reminds me of 2016's free agency class, where you can see a trend of physical forwards all needing new contracts, and they get these big money deals, but they end up not working. Tom Wilson is already showing signs of decline, not necessarily in his point total, but in his games played total.
He's getting injured a lot.
Which is alarming. Like, for decline, you don't have to have like production drop. Your games played, if they drops too far, like, you're only as useful as how much time you spend on the ice.
Now, I will say this. Quick question: how many games were there in 2020 season? Was it like 6?
2019, 2020. He played the full season.
The 2020,
21 was 56.
Okay, so he missed like 10 games there.
Yeah.
So really the only year he got hurt was this one.
Yeah.
But I do understand what you mean in the sense of like...
I mean, in 2018-19, he got hurt too.
Yeah.
63 games.
That's still not like horrible.
Yeah.
Like, that happens a little bit when you have you have one season to injury. But like when you have a season where you basically miss like half of it, like if you start getting in like... I don't want to say like it starts happening more frequently. We know the kind of standard for it. Mark Stone kind of rings a bell with that. I think you could maybe even put Sagan in that category.
Sagan you can put in there too, like...
Or Pacioretty, who's now always hurt now.
Yep. Like, my concern with Tom Wilson is he's a very physical forward, which means when he gets to like his early to mid-30s, it's not going to look all that great.
No. And you're kind of... This is the kind of contract where you're praying it's front-loaded. Like, not front-loaded in terms of money, but front-loaded in terms of value.
Well, Tom Wilson's going to get his money no matter what.
I know that. I'm just saying, like, I think the Caps are banking on being good the next... Like, bouncing back this season and being good the next 2 or 3... Like, 3 to 4 years, so when the contract does kick in, when it gets ugly and when he hits his like 34, 35 seasons, they will hopefully either have a few playoff runs to their name or a cup.
Well, I think the Caps window is honestly closed.
That's what I...
Because if you look at this roster,
it's not great.
TJ Oshie is very injury prone.
Yep.
Nicholas Backstrom had serious hip surgery.
He barely played this last season.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Did he play? If he did, it was like a few games.
Couple games. Ovechkin is 37 years old. Anthony Mantha just hasn't worked out as a Cap.
Nope, and he's gone after next season.
Yep.
Strom's been good.
Dylan Strom's been decent. Sonny Milano has been so-so.
He's been horrible.
Nick Dowd is also so-so.
He's whatever.
Nicholas Aube-Kubel was okay
Their
for
offense
his...
is not what really as much worries me because I think they have enough stuff to be fine. It's the defensive side, and you look at their defense.
And the goaltending. Oh my gosh.
Kemper, please figure out what you're doing. No, let's... Kemper wasn't great, but I also can't fully blame him. He still put up a 900 save percentage with that defense. Have you seen how awful their defense is?
And they were missing John Carlsson for a long time.
Gustafsson halfway through the season.
Yeah, I know.
Look at their defense. Listen to this defensive, like their top 6. John Carlsson, Nick Jensen, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Martin Verhage.
Wait. Faravari. I was like,
sorry.
Where were you looking?
I'm bad with names sometimes. Faravari. Joel Edmondson, Rasmus Sandin. That's putrid.
Rasmus Sandin is a good get on that D-core, but
garbage.
You got Sandin and Karlsson.
Faravari was not good last year. Jensen was horrible last season.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And Karlsson barely played, or did he?
Karlsson didn't play that many games.
Let me look it up. I'm going to look on DB quickly.
Erik Karlsson played 40 games, and he had 29 points, so that's about normal for him. A little bit under normal. in terms of point production. But I look at the Caps team and I'm like, can they make the playoffs? Yeah.
Mediocre. And everybody kept saying the same thing after every year. Gee, I'm surprised Kuznetsov has not been traded. It's been the third year of that.
I think it's coming very soon. Well, because the Caps are over the cap right now.
I thought with LTIR they're under. Oh, no, they just are.
They are 700,000 over. I think I don't know what the return for Kuznetsov is going to be. I don't know if they get a roster player. They might get like a second or a third round pick.
Maybe they get picks for it, but I might get a roster player. He's not bad, but he's not like...
The Caps need picks.
You're not getting the Kuznetsov you are from 19 anymore. You're not getting that guy.
He hasn't been there since 2019. He has not been the same player since that cup run.
And you're unfortunately right with that as well, so that's the worst part.
Yeah. But it happens. It does. Like, to me, like, the Caps do not win that cup in 2018 without Evgeny Kuznetsov, and now it's like the relationship has just soured since 2019. It's just really, really weird to see. Also, we actually have a couple announcements before we get to a couple of things. I don't know if we talked about this. Well, we did talk about Bergeron retiring on our last episode. That was like 3 weeks ago now. Yes. But another person retired off the Boston Bruins kind of late in the offseason to do it. David Krejci ended up retiring from Boston, so that's another big blow for the Boston Bruins. Their depth took a massive hit with this.
Bottom six is going to be horrendous.
I'm assuming they knew it was coming.
I don't feel like they did.
David Krejci's all-time career stats, he had 1,032 games played, 231 goals, 555 assists for 786 points. Pretty good player. Just, he came back for one last run because I think the Boston roster knew that it was his last run, especially with the Bruins. I mean,
I definitely thought he had 1 or 2 more years left in the tank. I just thought...
You just get beat up after a while.
I guess like when you hit your 30s, you kind of like start thinking about that.
Yeah.
When you play a lot of sports, it's like if you are right around that point of like being a Hall of Fame caliber player, you will stick it out.
Oh yeah.
But in the case of like Krejci, where you have a great career, but you probably aren't gonna be like a Hall of Famer, it's one of those decisions where you kind of just look in the mirror, you look at around like, all your friends and family, and ask like, can I still do this right now? Do I? Not much can I. Do I? Like when I wake up, do I want to keep doing this?
Yeah, and Krejci played a year in the Czech Republic. Like,
yeah,
he really left the NHL 2 years ago and then came back because Bergeron's last run. I mean, you can see with Boston's roster construction that they definitely want to go into a different direction. But the concerning thing with Boston is even in going in this different direction, they haven't drafted well in a long time.
Nope.
They still have a relatively aging core.
And then they just traded away Taylor Hall.
So, like, getting Milan Lucic is definitely fan service. James Van Riemsdyk is just not going to get you
anything
where you want to go. Like, Brad Marchand is still there. David Pastrnak signed that monster extension last offseason. You still have 7 years of Charlie McAvoy.
You still have a few years of Marchand. Some years of Zaka.
You got Ullmark and Swayman still. Like, they're still...
They have the defense to be fine for this year. They got... I don't know. The issue with the Bruins is that they're going to be so front-loaded.
Oh, yeah.
The minute if you get injuries to guys like Pastrnak and Marchand, their team falls apart.
Oh, yeah.
Very fast. They're going to be barely able to... They're going to be going through, like, Islanders-type syndrome when Barzal gets hurt.
And it's like, by no means am I saying the Bruins are going to be a bad team. It's just... They have a lot less depth than last year, and they're definitely going to have a wins fall off. It wouldn't surprise me if the Bruins had, like, a 45-ish win season.
Yeah, I think it's
going to be... That's still a playoff team, but, like, it's just not going to be what they were.
I think they're going to have an Islanders-type season where they're going to have to bank on their defense and goaltending carrying what I think is going to be a lot of shortcomings from the offense.
Yeah.
And look at the bottom part of their lineup. You're going to have Trent Frederick, Morgan Geekie, Milan Lucic, JVR, Patrick Brown, Jesper Bokovic. There were only 2 forwards there. That is competent.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not that great.
And Geekie. After that, none of those guys are capable of being productive offensively. Those are all great guys.
I don't know what the Bruins are trying to do. Like, last year they had that success because of their speed, and then this year
they're broken.
They dumped a lot of their speedy guys off, and they had 2 of their major pieces retire. So I don't know how they're going to reel from that.
They're broken this year. They're broken from getting...
Well, which happens because the Bruins knew that last season was the last chance they had. I mean, now watch, they'll go out and win a cup this year and prove us all wrong, but it's one of those things where...
But they haven't, though.
Yeah.
Even the year we thought they were going to prove us wrong in 2018, or no, 2019, they got beat into the ground by the Blues.
That was probably the best final that has happened.
Fantastic.
That's probably the best Stanley Cup final since... Oh my, it's been a long time.
That was a really good final.
I think 2012? No, because 2012... I think since 2019, it might have been their best... it might have been their best effort or the best cup final.
That was... like I said, this was going into the season with their last chance, and they probably humiliate themselves in the worst way imaginable.
Yeah. I mean, they still have Pasternak, and they still have Marchand for a couple of more years, so, like, you never really know, but it's just not looking all that great. So we'll keep an eye on it. Maybe the Bruins prove us wrong, but maybe they go off into obscurity. Who knows? I mean, if you're not a Bruins fan, you're probably hoping for that because Boston has... Just in general, in sports, Boston has had a lot of favorable luck, so you never know. We'll see about it. In other news, since we last recorded, the Matt Dumba saga has ended with the most predictable outcome known to man. Everyone was saying Dumba was linked to the Coyotes, but the Coyotes took like forever to figure out this contract, so Matt Dumba gets a 1-year, $3.9 million contract with Arizona, which means he's getting traded at the trade deadline.
You know what's funny?
What?
Like I said, always shout out to Cat Friendly.
Oh, I know.
Their entire D-Corps are on 1-year deals.
All of the Coyotes' D-Corps is on a 1-year deal?
I mean, I guess there's RFAs and stuff like that. But Sean Durzee's on the last year before he's an RFA. Juuso Vamaki is on the last year of a deal. Troy Stetcher's on a 1-year deal. Josh Brown's on a 1-year deal. Matt Dumba's on a 1-year deal.
Oh, my God. Arizona has 0 defensemen after this season. How many forwards do they have up?
And I doubt they even keep Durzee.
They have 4 forwards up and all of their defensemen up. That is crazy. And they also have 4 people on LTIR. Names like Jakub Voracek, Shea Weber, Brian Little, and Travis Dermott.
How did that happen?
I don't know. Also, Oliver Ekman-Larsson is dead cap for them, and
they have a buyout of
Zach Kassian and Patrick Nemeth are bought out. How... The Coyotes are not an NHL team, and they're not even the worst team in the league.
Oh, they have $24 million in money that just don't play for us.
They have $24 million in dead cap.
7 contracts of guys of people signed to their team just so they can make money and not play for them. 7.
They are paying more for people to not play for them than they're paying for their goalies and defensemen combined.
I know it's only a few $100,000.
No.
For the OEL contract.
Okay.
But they're paying them until 2029.
It goes till 2029, but to give you an idea, their injury reserve / dead cap is $24 million. They're paying around $15 million for their goalies and defensemen. $15 million. That's like a $10 million difference. The Coyotes aren't a team. I refuse to believe it. But they'll still beat teams they have no business being. Like, they beat Boston twice last year. Like, I don't know how.
What that's wild to me is that you got some. All right, you got some guys who were like decently solid free agents, like who ended up there. I know, like Jersey was a trade.
Yeah.
Like, but they also signed Matt Dumba and Jason Zucker.
I forgot that. And Alex Kerfoot.
Was that a signing? Or
that was
a
trade? Signing.
That was a signing. Like, I'm surprised. The one thing that has surprised me is that they actually are getting some people to come there. And it's not like bottom of the barrel, like, okay, we have no other options.
Yeah. I mean, you come to the Coyotes with the assumption that, like, hey, I could be traded at the deadline because the Coyotes are asking, like, above market value contracts. They can get people to come play for them because, like, people just don't want to play in a college arena in the NHL.
That holds 5,000 people.
Not even 5,000 people.
And they don't even sell out half the time.
Nope. Like, I just don't get it.
I don't think we ever will get it.
I don't know what the plan is, and, like, they're not even the worst team. So, do you want to jump to the worst team? Because, like, we don't have a ton of news, so I guess we can jump into the big thing. Like, sorry, guys, this episode's going to be, like, a little bit short. We're, like, kind of in the off-season lull.
And we don't want to just, like, drag things out.
We're going to figure out, like, a more robust schedule. Like, what we might end up doing is we might take a break until the preseason starts, which is, like, I think the preseason is in, like, 2 weeks or something like that. Let me look up the preseason before we get into this.
I think it's, like, the end of September.
So, the preseason begins September 24th.
Okay.
So, it's in about
4 weeks.
About a month.
Yeah, around that.
So, we can keep you guys posted with that. Like, we might just do, like, some shorter shows on some things. Like, we could talk about other sports if you wanted to. We can just wait until there's more news because, unfortunately, we're at the point in the off season where, like, there's just not a lot going on. Like, it's sucked to be away for a while. Like, Nick and I, like, just didn't want to be away, but at the same time, like, there wasn't a whole lot to cover. Like, at the end of the day, when the Karlsson trade dropped, which we're going to get into, we would have had, like, a 5-minute episode about it, maybe.
Yeah.
And that, because that's
like
all that happened.
Two other signings as well, but, like,
yeah. Because that's, like, all that happened. And we're like, we don't really want to get into it. Like, we have a couple of things. Like, we have, like, 3 trades to go over that I want to go over. But, like, those trades will take all of 5 minutes, maybe. And the Karlsson one's going to be the bigger one.
I mean, I guess I did have one thing I was going to say. Just because it does sort of relate to hockey. What's the NHL game?
Oh, the NHL 24 video game?
Released their cover athlete. It was Cale Makar.
All hail Cale Makar.
We own you.
And, well, like, the NHL video games, it's the same thing in a different year. So, but that being said, I'm still going to buy it.
Yeah, and then one other short announcement. I was looking, because we joke about the Coyotes not being a real team. Despite all signs pointing to them to move, whether if it was looking at places like Hartford or Houston, they are still trying to keep them in Arizona as they are looking at possibly getting a stadium built in Mesa, Arizona.
Yeah, I saw they were looking into purchasing some land, so...
Which, do you know how bad Mesa gets? Mesa's like one of the hottest cities in America.
Yeah, I know, but the NHL's hell-bent on keeping a team in Arizona, and, like, my problem with keeping a team in Arizona isn't necessarily that, like, hockey doesn't belong in Arizona. It's just Arizona in general hasn't really been supporting their sports teams for a while now.
No, it's because
Cardinals games have been empty. Diamondbacks games have been empty. The Coyotes games have been empty.
I mean, they've had painfully, but the issue is that with that is like a lot of cases they've had really horrible ownership in Arizona.
Yeah, they have.
Like
I don't know why they don't inquire the Suns owner to potentially buy the team.
Suns only got good because of their new owner. They had horrendous owners before that. The Diamondbacks are like literally the only team in Arizona who's had somewhat competent ownership.
Yeah.
Even then, I think they've gone through two or three because of like when they're not great, they have some trouble getting attendance. And then the Cardinals, the less I say about them, the better. The Bidwills run that team into the ground.
Yep.
Just like they do State Farm Stadium. And then you got the Coyotes, who have just they're about as toxic of an organization as the Thrashers, except the Thrashers had less off-field issues.
I agree with that. I mean, I think the best thing for the Coyotes is going to be new ownership and moving the team. Like, I just don't know if there are any owners that would be good for that organization, especially one that needs stability. Like, I just think the team just needs to start over. It's not working out, which sucks. But at some point, you need a change of scenery. Like, whether you're a player or a team, like, if it's just not working out, it's not working out. Like, you need to move it. Like,
it's the issue, especially with businesses, especially in sports businesses. Unless you're about as awful of a person as, like, John Fisher is to the Oakland A's fans.
Yeah.
Most times, businesses don't want to admit they're wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Unless it's this the argument of, hey, we're going to strong arm you for a stadium so we barely have to pay any money. And then, oh, what's this? You don't want to give us the fun city? Well, we're just going to go ask a few other cities to leave, like, to have us come in. But, like, unless it's that sort of case, if it's because ownership is running that team into the ground, the league is not going to take it away and kind of fix that.
But the Coyotes have been run into the ground like 4 times now.
You think about how the Thrashers were like, and they got ran into the ground so bad until they literally just didn't even have a choice.
Yeah.
Like, baseball went through that in the early 2000s with the Montreal Expos, with how horrible they got treated, and the Twins. The Twins almost contracted, but they got enough to sort of stay around until their stadium was called the Hubert H. Humphrey Dome. Got finally scrapped, and they got Target Field put in play. So a stadium is a big part of having stability.
Oh, yeah.
But they had that as well. They had that, and they just weren't paying.
Yeah, they couldn't pay their rent. So, like, what makes them think that getting a new stadium is going to fix things? Like, you need to pique fans' interest, and they just haven't put a good team on the ice in their entire existence.
No, and I'll end it with one last example, and then we could talk about the big news.
Yep.
For anybody who I encourage everybody to look into like all the financial issues that Arizona's had, because not many people know how bad it really is. Like, a similar story I can give to how bad their situation is the Miami Marlins for baseball. There's not really football that's like that, and basketball, there's no issues with that. They all do pretty well for themselves. Even like the small market teams in like Memphis and Timberwolves. Is that Minneapolis? Minnesota. Yes. It's just Minnesota Timberwolves.
But they're in Minneapolis.
Yeah, they're in Minneapolis. Yeah. But they've just been bleeding money, and I guess part of it was COVID, but part of it was that they just haven't had success. And I talk about the Miami Marlins in the same way because around 2012, they put together a new stadium, which is now called Lone Depot.
Yeah.
Which they taxed the living crap out of the city, and it's now gotten so expensive, like that stadium, like they paid over $1 billion for that stadium.
I'm not surprised.
Miami, because Jeffrey Loria is a horrible, horrible human being. He absolutely strong-armed and screwed over the city of Miami. But they're now in such a problem because I think I remember saying like they got in so much issues, like they had to like take down like the big like Miami sculpture thing. That was
they
insane
did
because of money. Like
Yep,
they were just
they
so
couldn't
low on
afford
money.
it.
They were so low on money, and maintaining it was so painful.
Did they sell it off?
I
I think they might have.
I think they sold it off. And I highlight all this because it's like they're so freaking volatile right now that they like rumors of relocation have spread like wildfire. And this is with them doing well this season.
Yeah.
This is with them finally having a successful year for the first time in forever. That wasn't the 2020 season. Like even that didn't help their fan base. Like in fact, it made it worse because the one guy who brought in some stability in that organization was Derek Jeter. And then the organization basically just turned him away from making moves. Ironically, that's how, as a Phillies fan, that's how we got Nick Castellanos in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He got rejected for making contracts, and it made him so just uninterested in being a part of a team. And I think that's the biggest problem here in Arizona is that they've had such little success. They've had such an inability to draw people in. Everybody, not just players, but management, media directors, all these big promotions, all these big promoters, all the advertisers, all of that. Look at that team as volatile, a waste of money, a waste of space, and a waste of time. And even if they were to find a year of success, which was 2020, they finally got some success. They added at the deadline, and then they went into the ground with Taylor Hall and Carl Soderberg. What do you do? They won a playoff series. That's more because Nashville imploded. And when they ran to the Avs, they got beaten to the ground and back. And it's just really frustrating because at some point, businesses need to learn. Like, it's just the number one thing we've always learned in business is when you got to know when something's working and when something's not. And I learned this from my music class. You can either go down with the ship and just lose everything or pivot and find a way to make it work, and they're not choosing either.
Yeah.
They're not accepting that they're wrong, and they're not pivoting to try and fix issues.
You want Gary Bettman to admit that he's wrong. That'll never happen.
You'll never see that in any sports.
Never happen.
Like along with that, like you'll never see it in any sports league. You'll definitely never see it in the NHL.
No.
But you'll never see it in any sports league because they're all covered by the press so hard. And
hockey's one of the sports that like is just not covered by the press that much. So like they can do it if they wanted to, but
that requires a lot of looking.
You just have to
looking in the mirror
that this just isn't working, and it hasn't worked for the better part of a decade. It hasn't worked for like 12 years. That's being generous.
Yeah, say for the few years they made like conference finals.
They made it one time, and that's it.
It was like what 2012.
Yeah. And then they got blasted by the Kings.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know what the avenue is. Well, like, I am still on the firm side of just move the team and get a fresh start. Like, sell the team and move it. I think that's what has needed to happen for a long time. Like, they've had solid ownership groups from, like, Salt Lake City or Houston or Halifax even or Quebec City. Like, those cities will support a team. Arizona, like, hasn't because, like, why would you? They've been good for 1 year of their existence. Other than that, why would you support that team? I wouldn't spend money on it.
Yeah, when 2012 is the only memory, and the only other one you can vaguely remember them being good was the entire world falling apart.
Yeah.
And they weren't even that good that year.
They were borderline
mediocre.
A team. They were like borderline a playoff team.
Yeah, they fell down to the 10th spot.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It was 12, right?
They got in because of the bubble format. Yeah.
Yeah, expanded bubble. And I think it was 12 teams and they were 10, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
When they were actually sitting in a wild card spot,
like
deep into the season, like right before the deadline.
They were sitting in third division spot, and then right before the season shut down, I think they were 9th in their conference or something like that. They were like barely even close to being in a playoff spot. But we've spent a lot of time on the Coyotes.
And they're not even
almost
the worst.
Too much time.
Yeah. And they're not even the worst team in the league this year.
All right, speaking of the worst team in the league, they somehow get worse again. I just don't really understand the thought process of the San Jose Sharks in this deal, but... So, it's a 3-team deal. The biggest name is, of course, Erik Karlsson. So, we'll start with Pittsburgh, who, in my opinion, is just outright the winner of this trade.
Yes.
The Pittsburgh Penguins receive Erik Karlsson. His salary is retained a little bit, so they're paying him $10 million a season. Dylan Hemeliuk, which that name is, wow, I'm sorry for butchering that.
Something like that.
They get a third-round pick from San Jose in 2026, and they get Ren Pitlick. The Montreal Canadiens from this deal acquire Jeff Petrie at 25% retained. They get Casey DeSmith, who's a serviceable backup. Maybe, like, he'll serve his purpose in Montreal for them to die for a early first-round pick. And then they get Pittsburgh's 2025 second-round pick. And now San Jose. San Jose gets Mike Hoffman, who is on the decline. Mikael Granlund, who just didn't work out in Pittsburgh. Jan Ruda, who was okay. A 2024 conditional first from Pittsburgh. The condition to that pick is top 10 protected. Now, in terms of the money, Montreal adds $887,000 to their cap.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh subtracts over $3 million from their cap. And San Jose, which I don't understand this from their point of view because they get rid of Karlsson to have cap flexibility, they gain $2.25 million from this trade.
And they still are going to pay Erik Karlsson $1.5 million for the next 4 years.
Yep. Just to me, like, first looking at this trade, Pittsburgh wins this outright.
Oh, yeah.
The addition of Karlsson and Pitlick, they win.
I knew that was going to happen because I saw articles talking about Pitlick wanted out. He wanted out of Montreal.
Yeah.
Which, understandable. You know, things just weren't working. I think he was just not happy there. So, I think it's borderline even right now for Pittsburgh and Montreal. I know Pittsburgh's going to win it right now.
Yeah.
But I really like what Montreal did, especially because they flipped Petrie.
Oh, yeah.
And they got some good value for trading Petrie to...
Oh, yeah. We can talk about that, too, before we jump into that. Because that's technically part of this trade. I have it here. So, Montreal, of course, acquired Jeff Petrie from the Penguins in that deal. But then Montreal flips Jeff Petrie at 50% retained to the Detroit Red Wings, which, again, oh my gosh, their decor is looking shaky. And the Canadiens get Gustav Lidstrom and a 2025 conditional fourth-round pick with the condition that Montreal will receive Detroit or Boston's 2025 fourth-round pick. They'll receive whichever one is lower, which...
Not bad.
Weird, but okay.
Not bad.
But that trade's not bad. Like, I can see why Montreal did that. Detroit, their decor.
Yeah, so look at that. So you think about that now. Montreal got a second-round pick, a fourth-round pick, Gustav Lindstrom, who I think could be very solid for the future for them.
Yeah.
Casey DeSmith to, not kill Sam Montembeault, basically.
And a former first-round pick in Nathan Lagar.
Who can maybe get some playing time there.
I think he'll get some much-needed playing time.
I think Pittsburgh and Montreal are borderline even. I would agree with you. Pittsburgh gets the benefit right now because Pitlick and Karlsson are going to help them.
Yeah.
Basically right now, while they still need to try and make something happen with Malkin, Crosby, and Letang, which I think if you're going to help them, this is how you do it. That's the way to do it. And Dylan Hemeliuk can be some future for them.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's San Jose.
San Jose somehow got worse in terms of cap on this deal and worse as a team.
Yes, just... Oh, my God.
They get a year of Mike Hoffman at $4.5 million.
And let me do a quick search on it. I think he missed a decent amount of time as well.
He did. I'm just looking at San Jose's end of this. They didn't want to pay a ton to Karlsson, but at the same time, it's like, you might be better off.
Yeah, it's so painful because the best player they're getting is Mike Hoffman for a year, and he was a half a point a game player.
Oh, I know.
And his goals have just been on the decline since his days, like since his last day in Florida. He has not hit 20 goals in a season.
Not surprising.
He hit 17 in 2021, which he might have gotten 20 in a full 82 game season. He had 17 in 52 games. But then the 2 seasons he's been in Montreal, 15 and 14 with point totals 35 and 34, 20 assists apiece.
67 games apiece, too.
And plus minus of minus 24 his first year and minus 10 his second season.
Yikes.
So he does not look great.
I'm just looking at this for San Jose. So at best, you're going to get a mid-round first.
Yeah.
You're
Possibly a late
mid-round.
because they could make the playoffs with that addition.
That's all the draft picks they got. They got only a first for that.
Yeah, and it's not even top 10 protected if something were to go wrong.
Yeah, and the Sharks need picks right now.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. If
For the
let's
future.
just say this move blows up and Pittsburgh was horrible this year, it's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But let's say it is. Do they
That's
get a
still,
pick after that?
14th overall. They didn't get any other picks.
Because
in
you
this-
said it was
in
top
this
10
deal.
protected. So let's
It's top
say
10 protected.
let's say they actually did finish like garbage and end up in the lottery.
Yeah.
Do they get no picks after that?
They get the 2025 first. If that
Okay.
happens.
So
But,
that's what it is. Okay, that's my bad.
But only getting a singular pick in this deal for San Jose is just kind of a loss to me.
And let's just say, like I said, worst case scenario happens, they don't even get any benefit for this year.
Oh, I know.
They get worse this year, and they get no help. Like, what?
They got, to me, they just got objectively worse, and it's extending their rebuild because I think they could have done way better in this deal than they did, but I don't think this puts them in a position to do better in a rebuild. This doesn't put them in position to do better, on the ice right now.
Listen, we're not going to accuse players of tanking, obviously, because no player goes out there and says, yes,
No.
let's take a dive.
It's mostly
But-
the GMs that do that.
You can't tell me in my heart of hearts, look at their roster, look me in the eyes, and tell me they're going to be not the worst team in the league.
Oh, I know. They are by far, I personally think they're going to be the worst team in the league, and it's not even going to be close.
It's not.
It's just not close.
Because the odds of the Ducks getting worse are pretty low.
I don't think the Ducks can get any worse.
They definitely can. They definitely can.
But you need to have a couple of injuries for that to happen.
I.e. the Killorn contract.
Yeah.
But, no, it's hard for them to get worse, and I doubt they will. Arizona, I think, will actually be better this year. I think they'll be 500 this season, possibly.
I think they have a
With the
chance
additions.
to be, but it's still not
I think
looking
they'll
good
be
for them either.
The Canadians are probably still going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to be horrible.
Yeah.
What else? The Blue Jackets, they could be up there. The Blackhawks, they'll be better. The Blues will be better. The Sharks, literally, when the next worst team in my eyes is, the Ducks and Blue Jackets, and I guess, the Flyers are probably there as well. The Flyers
Maybe,
the Flyers
yeah.
are going to be bad this year.
Yeah.
If that's where the standards are, those three are right up here, which is I would say a solid. If we're doing reference people of how it looks, my hand's a foot above the table.
Yeah.
San Jose is the actual
buried.
floor.
They're buried.
They're 6 feet underground. They are
They're
genuinely
buried.
horrible, and they're gonna get worse. That's the funny thing. They're gonna be horrible to start the year. Then they're gonna trade Thomas Hertl and Anthony Duclair, and then they generally could go and possibly set the record for worst.
Set the record for ineptitude.
Yeah, they could beat what the Caps did. They are that bad.
Yes.
The
record for ineptitude in a season.
This is the same team that's going to run out a $7 million Mark Edward Vlasic because they're stupid. Anyways,
Yeah. It's not looking good for them, Chief.
And here's the wild thing, and this will be the last thing I say for this segment. They only have $4 million in cap space this year.
I know. They didn't even do well in the cap space.
Like, what?
You need to have cap flexibility for free agents when they inevitably come, and they don't have it.
Bro, they have $7 million
Yep.
in dead cap and buyouts.
Not as bad as the Coyotes, but like when you're
Nothing
an
is
actual
worse than the Coyotes,
NHL
obviously,
team, when you're an actual NHL team, that's not great.
Bro, they're paying Martin Jones for 4 more years. 4 years. They're paying him $3 million this year and then $1.67 million for the next 3. They're paying Erik Karlsson $1.5 million for the next 4 years. They're paying Brett Burns still for 2 years. 2.7.
What are they even doing?
I can't. If I look at this,
You
I'm
guys
getting
sure
angry.
this new GM is what you want? Are you
I
sure?
don't even know who their GM is.
Oh boy, what is his
Let's
name?
take a look. Mike Greer.
Mike Greer, former NHL player.
Boys Club, baby.
Yep.
Anyways.
Like, as always, boys club. But for that trade, like, just TLDR, Penguins, I think, are comfortable winners in the present. Montreal will probably be winners in the future. San Jose just didn't do as good as they should have.
San Jose is going to be horrible.
So, one more thing that's kind of somber, and then we'll end it with our new, like, updating schedule plan. So the final thing is that we just wanted to send condolences to the Amirov family, and the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. Rodion Amirov, unfortunately, lost his battle to brain cancer and unfortunately passed away. I believe he was 20 years old, which is very sombering considering the age we are and just considering how much life he had ahead of him. He had a life, and less importantly, he had an NHL career in front of him. From all accounts, even through his battle, he was super positive throughout the whole thing. Cared about others the entire time. Really, just condolences to the family and to the organization. It's never an easy thing to lose your kid. I can't even imagine what that's like, but
It's horrible.
really condolences to them. Best wishes to his family. I hope they find peace at some point. It's really just a terrible thing. Really can't say anything more. It sucks. It really does. I was looking forward to seeing him as a player on the ice. Unfortunately, we lost him, and it just sucks. You never want to see anyone pass away at such a young age, let alone a 20-year-old kid. So
it's crazy, especially because from what I looked at, like, he was basically born around the same time as all of us, and
he was a young man, had lots ahead of him. Unfortunately, he won't see it. But condolences to his family. The Leafs organization put out a really nice message about him. It's just unfortunate. He'll be in the thoughts of really everyone who knew him, whether it's his family, his friends, the fan base. Every hockey fan will remember him. Condolences to his family once again.
Yeah. I think before we wrap it up, I think just, I don't know, it's something I always like doing with stuff like this. I like to just, like, let's just, all of us just give a quick moment of silence. Just, hope you're resting easy.
All right. Always tough to segue after something like that, but
we always do is just try and keep as much positive, even when something goes wrong.
But
really,
I don't
things end sad.
I don't think anything in terms of hockey news should follow up with that. We do have to give some news about our uploading schedule. We are changing our schedule a little bit. Better times for you guys to consume the content, and gives us an opportunity to cover news a little bit easier. we're going to put stuff out weekly once the season starts. Like, we'll get a better schedule once the season begins because we'll have more content to put out for you guys. We're planning on doing live shows Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're probably going to run about an hour each time. Gives you guys a chance to get caught up before games begin, lets you know what narratives are going on in the NHL. In terms of uploads, we're going to be posting on like all of our normal platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast, as well as YouTube. Mm-hmm. We will, of course, let you guys know what's going on in terms of posting. So, like, within these next couple weeks before hockey really gets going, there might be weeks where we unfortunately have to miss because we don't have enough content for you guys. We will address it better going forward next season because I just don't want to give you guys like any lackadaisical content. Like, I want you guys to be able to have like a semi-full show. So like anything that's like over 40 minutes, I feel comfortable putting out there. But thank you guys for sticking with us. We will let you guys know what the next episode is going to look like in terms of time period. If I had to guess, we might have a little bit of a break again, but we'll keep you guys posted.
We will.
Thank you guys for tuning in again. We all appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good week. For our Duquesne students that are listening, good luck getting through this week. I know the first week of school is never an easy thing. Being a senior, I've been through it before. This is my 4th time being through it, but you guys will get through it. Good luck to all you guys. We're going to have a good semester. There are going to be ups and downs, but we'll all get through it. Until next time, we'll see you guys later. Take care.
Sign off.